Lords of the Fallen in 2014 was essentially the first ever Souls-like game. Before that, FromSoft were making all these fantastic games, but no other developer had really tried. And then Lords of the Fallen came out, and back then I bought it because it was just so far up Souls-like's ass that I just couldn't get enough of it. And to my disappointment, the game wasn't very good. From what I can remember playing it all them years back when I was only 16, the game just felt kind of clunky. Everything was heavy, the character models were absolutely ginormous. The sort of fantasy aesthetic was very generic, and I remember just the combat feeling very heavy. Now, I do remember that the game had a cool idea where basically, yes, you rested at bonfires which replenish your healing items and also respawn enemies, but also you got an XP multiplier depending on how many enemies you killed. And when you rest at a bonfire or whatever the red shard looking things were, it reset your modifier. So there was a good risk reward system in sort of, oh, I don't want to reset, I want to keep the multiplier up so then I can level up better. And that was probably like the only memorable thing about the game. I don't remember the game being like bad or overly terrible. It just seemed to be okay. And when you're comparing games to the absolute masterpieces that FromSoft make, everything's going to pale in comparison. But even a mediocre game is going to look even worse because, you know, FromSoft games are just that amazing. So leading up to now, there have been quite a few failures for Souls-likes. Some of them feel good to play, like Neo, and recently Lies of P. I really enjoy that game. So I'm hoping Lords of the Fallen, the new one, falls into that category. And with the new one coming out, I went back to this game, just sat down and played it for an hour, just to see what it was like. So now, actually jumping back into the game, you can see that my last save file was from Christmas Eve 2014. I played exactly 3 hours of this game, and that was enough for me to say that I just didn't like this game. And as you can see now, I've played precisely 39 minutes. I beat the first 2 bosses. And basically everything that I said in the intro is, you know, pretty true. This game, it's not terrible. It certainly isn't terrible. But it also certainly isn't very good either. So the character is just very heavy. As you can see, I was saying this, like, just look at how big the character is. All the enemies are massive too. There's no such thing as subtlety when it comes to this game. There's just a certain level of, we made Gears of War but fantasy and just put everything absolutely massive. Now, the game does still, honestly, look pretty decent. You know, I was surprised. I was playing it at very high settings. While I was playing myself, I was getting like 144 FPS, but recording, I had to drop it because, I don't know, my computer is just being a bit temperamental. But if we go into the character screen here, so there's loads, and I mean loads, playing for 40 minutes, look at all these different armor sets that I have. I have a stupid amount of armor sets, and I already have a stupid amount of weapons. So, while it is similar, it's very, you know, Souls-like, it does have a bit more of a kind of, it has a bit more of an action RPG style where you do get more gear. I mean, I have more weapons here in the first 40 minutes than you get in probably the first 10 hours of Dark Souls. So it is a bit different, and I'm enjoying this staff here. Now, you do roll and you fat roll, and, you know, it's very, very Dark Souls. So I'm just going to show off a bit. If I remember correctly, let's see. These are like weird combat challenge rifts that you go into. Let's see. Can I open it? I can't. Let's go into this, and I'll show off some combat because the game isn't letting me enter. Okay, I'm guessing I'm not showing off combat there, so we'll just keep going. So I fought 2 bosses, and the bosses were ridiculously easy. Their patterns were very, very easy to understand. And also, I'm playing as a cleric, and I have this ability that drops a decoy, and it basically just makes this game easy mode. I didn't even realize what I was doing. But there's a certain sort of, I don't know, almost brain deadness to this game. You don't need to focus on damage the same way you do in a Dark Souls game, because even the bosses, they honestly, they don't deal that much damage to you, and the game just doesn't feel as tense. It's a lot easier now. I understand. I've played a lot of Dark Souls games. I've played all of them. Well, I have. I've played all of them. I've beaten all of them, and obviously, yes, I have a certain level of skill for these types of games, but this game is too easy. I'm just not enjoying this first 40 minutes. It certainly isn't terrible, but I'm just trying to show off a bit of combat here. And all of the enemies, there was a boss. That last boss just had a big shield. And to deal with the shields is just really annoying because you just have to keep, like, circling. I assume I can do a kick, can I? But that doesn't stun. So you're just kind of, like, walking around like this. And as you can see down the bottom there, that's where the XP multiplier is, which, again, I think is a really cool idea. And you also have this gauntlet here that you can equip with a blast, an explosive, and a projectile. And you have magic. And it uses up the magic as well as my little ability down the bottom right uses magic. And I think the magic automatically recharges, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it recharges when you deal damage. So it's starting to recharge anyway. I really like this monk staff. But here was what I was going to harp on about this game mostly. So can you see this camera shake? So obviously they're going for, like, yes, we want to make this weighty Souls. There is a certain weight to absolutely everything. And as you move around, everything. Look at how the camera moves. It wobbles. You can't turn this off. And it's so annoying. Yes, it builds the weight of your character, but it doesn't feel good. And then when it comes to leveling up, I don't have anything to level up here, but look, I'll just show it. So I have my abilities, my prayer and shelter. That was the thing that spawned that decoy. And if I press LT, I put it into spell points. If I press RT, I put it into attribute points, my XP. You can bank it, and then you can use the spell points to upgrade your spells, and then the attribute points to upgrade your attributes like strength and vitality. Which, again, I think is a cool idea. It's a way that you can I bank my souls? And them souls now completely banked. They are. So it's a way to save it, but then you have that risk-reward system where now my XP multiplier has been reset. So I no longer have, you know, plus 1.5 XP or whatever. Now, is this guy actually going to be difficult? Oh, okay. I'm not playing with any sound because my headphones are out of action right now. Or should I say they're in another room and I was too lazy to go get them before recording the video. Not that sound is all too important right now because I'm just showcasing this game. But yeah, this kind of breaks the game a bit. Where I can just kind of let that decoy just do its thing. But this enemy just has a shield. And playing against these shielded enemies is more annoying than anything else. And that was what that previous boss... Oh, he actually deals a bit of damage. I might die here. But yeah, I think my main takeaway of playing this game right now... Now, I've only played an hour. This is by no means a review. They also do that. They do the Dark Souls, let's hide people in a corner. And make corridors really narrow, which Dark Souls does as well. But my main takeaway from this game right now is that... Once again, it's not a terrible game. It certainly isn't. And I don't remember thinking it was a terrible game back then either. I just remember thinking that it was a mediocre game that wasn't really worth playing. It never really stood out. The only, like, before I played this game today, the only thing I can remember about it was that the character models were absolutely ginormous. And apart from that, that was the only thing that was staying in my head. And I guess, yes, I'm saying the fantasy is generic because it is. But by all accounts, Lords of the Fallen, the new one, is supposed to be very good. I haven't watched any videos, but I've seen thumbnails and titles from previews. So I am very excited for the game, and I certainly will be playing it, hopefully, soon. Just so many games coming out. But this is by no means a review, but from this hour or however long I've played of this game, I would not recommend you play Lords of the Fallen in 2023. I was going to say 2014. But 2023, because it just doesn't feel very good. It still looks good, it holds up. It's like the definition of a completely mediocre 6 out of 10 game from what I can remember. And I think the Metacritic is like 6.8 out of 10. Yeah, it's not great, certainly isn't bad, but I really appreciate you watching the video. Subscribe, let me know what you think of Lords of the Fallen if you played it back in the day, or if you went back to it like a madman. And yeah, I really appreciate you. Subscribe, join the Discord. I'll have loads more reviews out this month, so goodbye.